Justin are joining us from their hotel in Cape Breton, where they have completely transformed a standard hotel bedroom into a stunning studio-style apartment. Guys, you're doing amazing. So talk to me about, like, how did you start? Where did you start?
Well, do you know what, Tracy? This is, I guess, what's a hotel suite, but it is kind of similarly scaled to a little studio. So we had to look at what we had and figure out how we could best make it work. Now, when we got this place, it was crammed with pine furniture and stuff essentially that was really kind of sturdy, but just wasn't relevant for our very dramatic new kind of makeover. So we got rid of everything that we didn't need. We gave it all to a local charity store so that somebody else could benefit. In our world, we simply won't fill the land site if we can avoid getting it into that position. So we got rid of all the furniture, we completely stripped the room naked, and then we started from scratch with a new colour scheme. So in a hotel room like this, or in a studio apartment where there might be lots and lots of traffic, you have to think about finish. So rather than use a matte, which is something to which we would normally defer in the domestic kind of arena, we used a satin finish, which is white clean and scuff resistant. It's much, much more resilient. And we chose Chantilly Lace by Benjamin Moore, which has got all the expansive qualities of white, but it's just that little bit softer.
Yeah, but you know, in a room like this, you know, a studio apartment, you find that actually the largest unbroken wall is normally the bedhead wall. So that's going to be your focal point wall. You know, that is really going to be where the action is. So for this, we've used sawn lumber. We've got some pine on the walls. It's been sanded and it's been laid in a brickwork fashion, and then we've stained it grey because texture is super important. You know, if we want this room to feel really rewarding to our guests, texture is really important. And I think getting some timber, rough timber, into a smooth room really works well. The textures work well together. And we then added a couple of mirrors on either side, and what that does is it actually brightens up the darkest corner. So if you think of the corner of your room that might be furthest away from the windows, if you can put a couple of mirrors in there, it's almost like you're mimicking some windows in there as well. You're going to bounce light around and you're just going to play with the perspective, and the room is going to feel so much larger.
Now, on the subject of texture that Colin touched on there, this is essentially a creamy white painted box, so we needed to add as much more as we possibly could. Now, we're lucky enough that the bed area is recessed back, so to really make a virtue of that, we got 3.5 inch by 3.5 inch lumber. We actually kept it inside to dry it out for as long as possible, and then we turned it into beams. So we roughed the edges with sandpaper, we rubbed some dark stain across the corners just to make it look a bit more edged, and then we fastened it to the ceiling in 3 sections on monster screws and really, really reliable wall kind of holding, what are they called? Can't remember what they're called.
Well, bracket?
No, not bracket, what's that word? It's a little plug. Sometimes the simplest word escapes you. We popped up here, Tracy, on a plug. We put 3 little plugs in there because the last thing that we needed was our lovely new beams to come crashing down on a lovely excited guest who's just arrived at North Star. So plugs are the order of the day in the bedroom. Now, on the subject of the bed, Tracy, we've found these really lovely wicker headboards. Now, sometimes you can buy a faux wicker, but these are actually real, genuine wicker, and they're really, really serviceable. They're also great to help baffle the noise in a bedroom, and also, if there's any activity on that bed and you don't want to have a wooden headboard battering and upsetting the person in the next room, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not struggling for my words on this occasion, Tracy. A lovely
if you're bouncing
headboard.
on the bed,
if you're
bouncing on it.
Enjoy of having arrived at North Star because you're so completely excited. Yeah, the wicker headboard is a really good way to add texture. It's super easy clean as well. It's just a kind of a modern update in the hotel environment on the standard wooden flat headboard.
How did this conversation get so sexy? There's a voluptuous bed. There
How
is
did
a
it do,
headboard
Tracy?
that
Voluptuous,
keeps bouncing,
curvaceous.
like, oh my gosh. Everybody's going to want to
Plugging in the
stay at
bedroom.
your hotel. Now, how do you incorporate...
Just to be sure, we're a holiday resort, not a sex resort.
How do you incorporate a kitchen into the space? Because it is fairly close to the bed. How do you do that and make that work?
Yeah, it is, you know, and if you're in a studio apartment, you know, don't make it hard for yourself. Don't fight it. The kitchen is there. Embrace it and actually give it some bedfellows rather than ignore it. So we've added a little compact dining table, a couple of nice chairs in there so that we complete the set.
Now, in a previous episode, Tracy, we showed you one of the kitchens where we had literally sanded away the shellac varnish and then waxed to a really soft sheen. In this room, we've done something a bit different. We've used 2 shades of grey paint, again by Benjamin Moore, and we've used what we call our gravity effect. So in the lower counter elevation, a lovely, lovely mid-tone grey, and then as you transition up to the higher units and the higher doors, a really, really soft whisper grey. The same hardware is painted black. Do you know, if you're doing one kitchen, it's expensive enough. But if you're revamping 22 suites at one time, you're multiplying your costs by 22. So anytime we can save a few $100, we're all about that.
Yeah, and if you've saved money by reusing the existing carcasses, then you can splurge a little bit, you know, so get some new countertops in there. We went to Home Depot for ours. We've used a gloss white square cut so that it looks super modern, and some new appliances really do complete the look.
So good. Okay, last but not least, where does the living space and storage fit in?
We looked at all manner of different upholstery and we just couldn't find anything that was within our budget and also really, really kind of strong for multiple hotel use until we stumbled across this grey guy from IKEA. Super comfy, super textural, and again, really, really part of our lovely 50 Shades of Grey colour scheme in here.
And it's super square as well. It's got that great mid-mod look. And we're in a rectangular room, you know, so you find that there's a lot of straight lines in here. So to break that up, we're adding some round elements as well. We've got a great round coffee table from HomeSense in the centre. And then underneath that, I love this, the big, fabulous rattan wicker rug, round. It feels really kind of boho, very 70s. But it's, you know, it's a surprise. You don't really see these things, and suddenly they're back in fashion. So actually putting a round into a square totally works in terms of design.
Now, I don't know about you, Tracy, but whenever we go on holiday, we always manage to leave something behind in the wardrobe or in a drawer. So we've elected to go for a much more open plan feel to everything that we've got here. And again, it's all down to cost. So buying 22 wardrobes was super pricey, but buying 22 hall stands, as we've done over there, allows guests somewhere really simple to hang their clothes. And you can see everything. As you walk out, you can do a last minute glance and make sure that you've not left something secreted in a drawer or at the back of the wardrobe. So open plan, very, very transparent, Tracy.
Yeah, I don't want you leaving your pants behind, Justin.
Nobody needs that. Not at the start of a lovely vacation to Nova Scotia.
Wear your pants home. That's the takeaway from the whole segment. I've left so many bathing suits behind.
Who's wearing pants? Let's be honest.
Right?
Who's wearing pants?
Who's wearing pants? That's true. Guys, thank you so much. That was so good. You've done such an incredible
Our
job.
pleasure, Tracy.
You two are the ones to make this happen and to stay within the budget and make it gorgeous. So thank you for that. You've done a great